Hi everybody, welcome to an episode of Twisted Wonderland Roundtable, where we have discussions about Twisted Wonderland. Oh my gosh, this is the first iteration, so... yeah, anyway, I am your host Mari, and today I've got a very special guest with me.
Hi, my name is Jingting. I make videos for Obey Me and Twisted Wonderland, and I'm glad to be here today. Hi.
Yee, hello, I'm glad to have you too. So, today's discussion we're going to be talking about the MC in Twisted Wonderland, and talking about, you know, their characterization or lack thereof, and overall, is it a detriment to Twisted Wonderland, or is it actually, like, a good thing? You know what I mean, guys. So,
Alright,
yeah.
So before we start, we should just both talk about where we've gone up to in the story. For me, I've only been playing the English server of the Twisted Wonderland game for about 3 months. I've done all the main story. I started around the Fairy Gala time, and I've done the events for Fairy Gala, Ghost Marriage, and the current one, the Wish Upon a Star, at least what's being released so far.
Yeah. I have been playing both JP and EN since they have both released. I'm caught up with Chapter 6 on JP, but for video purposes, we're not going to touch Chapter 6 at all. So if anyone has comments that are like, wait, but in Chapter 6, shh, don't do that. Don't do that, please.
Yes, I want to avoid spoilers. Thank you very much.
So yeah, this is a spoiler-free zone.
Hey Mari, I guess it wouldn't exactly be a spoiler-free zone since we're discussing everything up to Chapter 5 though, so... I mean, it's spoiler-free for everyone who's played the game, but...
yeah, if you're getting caught up, sorry. Oh, but yeah,
Come
just
back
know that we'll
in
be
a few months.
discussing up to Chapter 5. Would you like to start off with your piece, or shall I start off with mine?
You have the 4 bullet points.
Yeah, my 4 bullet points. So, I think I'll start just talking about use characterization. So, I know some people are kind of mixed on it. I personally love having a very sarcastic and kind of snappy MC. So, I do really love use one-liners. I think they're funny. I enjoy them very much. However, I do kind of wish they were a little more present in the story or had more lines, per se. But what can I say? I just love sarcasm. So.
For me, however, I feel like that's the whole point of him not being in the spotlight most of the time is because they're more of a background MC. I mean, like, they're only in the world of Twisted Wonderland because they have to, and they're doing these things because, well, Crowley's like, you do this, else we're not giving you your rent money or your food money for the next months. And if you, like, let's be honest, if you were walking down the street, how many people actually stick out to you? Like, in terms of, like, a video game sense, everyone would be background character and NPC, which is kind of what I feel like they were going for, was the MCU of Twisted Wonderland, and yeah, that's why I can kind of relate to that.
Yeah, I do think, with my gaming background, I've played a lot of, like, dating sims and Fire Emblem where the MCs are very involved in it, so I'm very used to having an MC that's really pretty much their own character. Like, you can self-insert at some points, but really, like, you know, like Fire Emblem, like Robin, Corinne, dating sims like Liz, Mina Hamilton, like, they're all very much their own characters. So I am a little more used to that. So having, I don't know, I feel like having you more on the quiet side is also kind of, is on one hand kind of like, oh, I do wish they talked a little more. But also, I feel like just to a certain extent with these kind of games, you kind of have to have a more quiet protagonist if you want people to self-insert a little easier, you know? Because I don't know, with a lot of the Otome games I've played, the protagonists are a little too nice compared to me. So I'm just like, I personally wouldn't forgive that person, but, like, you're the MC, you know, I guess you do you, girl.
I mean, you said, I wish they could probably be a little less quiet, but hey, no one goes around and says to those MCs who are their own character, hey, I wish you would stop being so freaking loud all the time.
I don't think you're playing the same Ultimate games as I am. No.
I don't know. I mean, that might have something to do with me being Arrow Ace, but like it's just something.
Yeah, I don't know. I do find it interesting though that I'm trying to think. I'm workshopping this right now in my head. I do think it is kind of interesting though that Yu's involvement in the story kind of fluctuates, honestly, because my very first bullet point out of the 4 is pointing out that Yu was, like, pretty proactive in the Octavine L chapter, and then...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, part of me kind of wonders, because, I mean, if you're listening to this, you're probably aware that this is not a new conversation at all. Like, this has been happening in the fandom basically since JP came out, and... I don't know, part of me kind of wonders if part of this whole conversation comes from the fact that, like, you know, the MC really kind of had to step up a bit in Octavine L's chapter, and then it just went back to normal, basically, you know? Because they had been really quiet and stuff prior to Octavine L, and then they kind of stepped up, and then it just kind of, you know, went back. So I kind of wonder if part of this conversation kind of comes from, like, well, wait a minute, we know that they can be a little more active. Like, we would like that a little bit more, you know?
I think maybe we should, like, just go down through all the chapters to have a good idea of how they're characterized. That'd be a good idea. So in the prologue, we see that they're basically trapped in this world. They're like, why the hell am I here? How can I get back? And then...
Crowley being a bad dad.
He never qualified for the position in the first place. Anyway, so they just popped them into the creepiest dorm ever, and then made them janitors. And yeah, so they're just going about their life, and then Grim ends up torching the Queen of Hearts, I think.
Yeah.
Or was it?
I think it's Queen of Hearts.
Yeah, they have to go wash windows. Juice ends up summoning Cauldron onto the Ace, and then flinging Ace into a chandelier, breaking it, and and then they have to go into like the Dwarf Mine thingamajig, and I feel like that's they are pretty laid back, except that in that point they kind of have to. They have to be proactive. That's kind of what it goes on with the first chapter as well, when it's Heart's Labio, where I don't really think they did too much.
They've got the sassy one-liners, Ace is flirty with them, which is very uncomfortable. Ace, I love you, you're my son, please shut up. Yeah, now that you mention it, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I was kind of wrong on that. The MC steps up when they have to, you know? I don't know, I
feel like...
Oh, sorry, you go.
It's the same... okay, now that I think about it, it's like, first prologue stepped up because they absolutely had to.
Yeah.
They were forced to, because otherwise, like, how are they gonna survive until they get back home? Heart's Labio chapter is... What happened again? I think it was who ends up getting collared all the time.
Yeah, Ace gets collared, and so then he goes to stay with the MC because, you know, he's mad. And, I guess I would say for that one, it does feel like MC is more just kind of being dragged along a little bit, you know, because they're, you know, going around with Ace and, you know, Trey and Kate and kind of just seeing all this stuff happen in Heart's Lobule and, you know, that sort of thing, and, you know, giving out their sassy one-liners, you know, their one-liner of telling Deuce that, chicken, like, eggs that we eat aren't actually fertilized. Oh, poor Deuce. Yeah. Poor Deuce.
I mean, I think for, like, that chapter, you could argue that their lack of characterization could basically be they're just trying to get to know about the school and everything.
Yeah, I love Heart's Lobule chapter, but it definitely... I don't know, maybe I wish they did the prologue just a little longer so we could get to know the school a little more, and then we could just really focus on Heart's Lobule, but, for, you know, their chapter. But,
Alright. Could you give me a recap of Savannah Claw? I can't really remember. Like, I think this is when Crowley actually starts putting on the tasks.
Yeah, and starts
right?
really starts with the threats. You know, like oh, you have to go do this. Oh, you don't want to do this. Wow, I never really said that it was yeah, and I'm just like, I fucking hate this man.
I mean, I think that in this chapter they were actually quite active, so because like we did see the MC just go around interviewing characters. Like they went to Rook, they went to Heart's Labio Infirmary characters, and I don't know, I think they were Pomphorians, but anyway, doesn't matter. They're just background NPCs, just like the rest of us.
We are all NPCs. None of us are special.
Yes. Yes. Or you're all special in the fact that you're not special. Exactly. That also works.
That and then it's basically just investigation.
Get beaten up. Yeah.
And then Octavianel, like I mentioned, you know, you has to step up because Ace and Deuce have goofed. And Grim also goofed.
And Grim. Like, I guess in a sense, like, the only reason that they have stepped up is because they also have to, but like it was more of there was more desperation in the Octavianel chapter because if you think about it, like all your free time is basically gone. Your best friend's free time is basically gone. You're in charge of a student whose free time is basically gone. How are we going to be able to stay in the school if we end up failing the classes?
Yeah. That and like... I mean, maybe that desperation is part of the reason why people always point out, like, the Octavianel chapter as the one where the MC's really active. Because, I mean, they kind of have to be. Like, I can see people being like, oh, you know, like, they were less active. But honestly, now that we're going over it, I'm like, well, actually, they are actually fairly active. You know, I feel like you can make an argument about the events, but...
I mean...
For the main story, you know, I'm like, actually, now that you think about it.
It's just that, like, we know that the MCU is just like a regular person, a regular NPC, basically, except that we are following them as a protagonist. Like, anyone can be pushed, like, it depends on how hard they're being pushed. Like, in the Octavianel chapter, they, like, at first, it wasn't, like, they weren't too active. They were just like, oh, let's just investigate the Mostro Lounge and have a look. And then and it's just that once they signed a contract, it's basically, I lose my house.
Yeah.
And I lose my freedom as well. If I don't end up passing this test, I'm basically shackled for God knows when. Yeah, and, we're not going down the kinky fanfic route, so that's not a very good thing in general. Like, who wants to be a slave?
Yeah, oh god. Yeah, I know there are people watching right now that are just gonna be like, well, I mean, and this is a kink shaming zone. Shame.
I mean, it's fine for us because we're only like reading kinky fanfics through the screen, but if you're actually put in that position, you'll be like, oh shit, I gotta like do my best to pass this test. So, like, I feel like the only reason why they were that active in the surge, like, in Octavianel chapter is because the desperation is very high as well.
Yeah, I mean...
For the fourth chapter was kind of interesting. Oh, yeah? Yeah, you want to continue?
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, like... I mean, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but, like, now that we're just really going through chapter by chapter, I'm like... You know what? Because... First, I was, like, in the camp of, like, yeah, I feel like the MC could be a little more active, and, like, yeah, I would like them to have maybe one or two more lines and stuff, but really, like, they are fairly active. I feel like part of it, though, is just, how do I say this? I feel like we see their actions and stuff, but I feel like, you know, except for, like, kind of the snarky, sarcastic sort of thing, we don't get a whole lot of their personality, like, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what they mean, but...
Like, it's a little more generic? I mean, sassy generic, but, you know. But honestly, like, I don't know if it's 100% of a bad thing.
Suddenly jumped into the random world, though. Like, you might not exactly be very friendly with everyone at first. I mean, some people... I know some MCs, more like on towards the socialization side. Like, if you're friendly with others, things will become easier for you because then they like you and then they're more likely to do favors and all that. But for like some other people, like for me, it took me a while to get over that mindset of be nice to others so that way things go smoother for you. It's just very hard for some people to like instantly adapt to it. And the sarcasm, the snarkiness could just be like a bit of a coping mechanism as well.
Yeah, now that you mention it, and speaking about, you know, socializing and making friends and all that, I do have to say, I feel like with any other game, the MC would be like super, you know, really good BFFs with like everyone after their chapter. But I honestly have to say, I feel like the MC's only friends are like really just kind of like Ace and Deuce. And I mean like Grim a little bit. Yeah. You know, and you know, I mean
I think Jack is also like one of their good friends because they did offer them a place to stay during chapter 3.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, like, they do definitely have some friends, but it's not, I mean, definitely, I do not see, like, Leona or you considering each other friends. I don't see you considering the, you know, the Leech twins friends, you know, that sort of thing. Which I do think is pretty interesting. I totally understand.
I mean, I feel like it's also bitter this way because it's, like, if you think about it, if you literally just talk to someone, kind of help them go through, like, a difficult phase of their life and then just bit them up, like, I don't really think that, like, it's, you can't exactly expect your counselors to always be your friends, and it's not realistic. I mean, I know it's a fantasy mage game where we basically die every 2 seconds, so, like, that's also not realistic, but I feel like in terms of, like, actual people relationships, you have to, like, put in effort. And, I mean, rather, not just in a counselor / this is my job kind of way. So, I guess I'm kind of glad that in the fact that the MCU, they did manage to make relatively good friends, as we saw, like, in Chapter 4, Scarabia, where they ended up, Ace and Juice just went through public transport.
I love that. But yeah, I honestly prefer it that way too. It's like, you know, would I like Leona being a little more friendly? Perhaps, but also like, we got fanfiction for that, you know? Like,
alright, so continuing the, like, in chapter discussion for chapter 4, that's also kind of an interesting one because we literally, like, spooned your way out of Alcatraz.
Yeah.
That was one of the highlights, like, just crashing through everything. It's just be like, hey, we got this magic carpet. Oh, whoops, never mind, we just crashed everywhere. And then you're being chased by, like, the hordes of Scarabians as well. It's like, what the hell?
Like, did you guys really have to do that? Did you really?
Speaking of which, back to chapter 4, I found it really weird how Grim and MC actually did try to use the spoon, because I mean, like, I was surprised that they actually tried to go for it in the first place, because I'm like, dude, that's never gonna work. And I'm like, what? They actually got through? I mean, how desperate could you be? You could have just gone and, like, tried to steal a key or something, or make, like, a key mode.
Or, like, pick it.
Yeah.
Or break a window. Set the room on fire. I don't know.
I mean, there were so many other options, but they just went for, like, hey, let's spoon our way out. What?
Yeah, no spoilers. They do kind of silly things in some chapters.
I mean, I guess if there was, like, an actual card of the MC, I'd fit them right into my limited brain cell trio / group. Just bring in Ace, Juice, the MC. Also get in Kaleem and Silver, because they're both space cases.
They are, and we love them so much. I love those boys. Yeah, and then continuing kind of going over the chapters. Chapter 5. I feel like for this one's a step back, you know? Like, they're just chilling. I mean, they're doing work, but they're chilling, you know?
I mean, I think it's just that, like, for chapter 5, they kind of already been like, this is the, wait, not VDC, it's SDC apparently in English. Yeah, like for the Song Dance Championship, I think that they were kind of like, we're never gonna win this anyway, so let's just do our job and get this over with.
Yeah. Which
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah, it's fair. It was really interesting seeing everything kind of happening around them, you know? So I'm like, yeah, I'll allow it.
I mean, I guess, like, for that one, they could probably, like... I mean, they've gone through 5 storylines already, one, like, including the prologue. And they'll probably be like, finally, one where I don't have to end up dying.
Exactly. I can just sit here and chill.
Yes, which is why they're like, yes, finally, I don't have to, like, actively go around and try not to die every second.
It's good. It's good content.
So I could totally understand by, like, why even though, like, they are still pretty desperate to get home, they're also like, Crowley's probably never gonna do anything. Like, at this point, I feel like they've gone to a point of acceptance to be like...
Yeah. And then chapter 6, nobody's talking about that. It does not exist.
Alright, so, we've gone through all the main story stuff for, the English server, at least.
I guess so, like, our next thing, I guess just the main question of, like, do you think this is, like, a good... how do I phrase this? Like, is the MC a good MC for this game? Do we think it's, like, a detriment to the game? Do we think it's, like plus? Like, how are we feeling, gang? Because, like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I've said this, like, 20 times. I do wish that there were just a little more lines, but honestly, I do like the MC we have. And I think they're good for, like, the format of the game, you know?
Yeah, I can agree with that, but I would say that I would prefer the MC to maybe be more proactive in searching for their own way back to the world, but then again, it's very difficult to judge because they're basically magicless. The whole reason they were here was because of magic, and there's not really much they can do outside of like just existing and hoping, but like that's my main issue is because like for visual novels and everything, they don't always go very deep into the inner thoughts of the main protagonist. Like for example, like you've played Obey Me to the first season, right? At least.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have.
Yeah, because basically, like spoilers for anyone who hasn't played to the end of the first season. Yuki, the character for Obey Me, she ends up getting killed by someone that she trusts and somewhat being resurrected again, but like when it comes to that, the storyline never really addresses how Yuki may have felt or like yeah, because like what happens is that there was like she basically lives with her murderer as well, and like the murderer's siblings were all just like, oh, you're back and you're the reincarnation of our sister.
Oh no, not the reincarnation of the sister.
The descendant of the reincarnation of my sister. And they were just like, and they just all focused on that rather than you just got murdered and you came back, and they never really addressed it at all.
That feels bad, man. That feels bad.
I mean, like, it's very difficult to, like, talk about it, because for Yuki, they didn't really... like, even the angels that were, like, there, they were like, oh, just try and help these guys get along with each other. Because they're siblings and you're basically their family therapist. I mean, it's kind of the same with like Twisted Wonderland, but not to like the you're dead now extent.
Yeah, oh god, I mean, you know I have some opinions about Obey Me.
I mean, like, it's just that it's like a lot of people have written about how like it may have been very traumatizing for them, Yuki and Obey Me, to have gone through that experience of being like betrayed, murdered, and everyone just brushing it off. I have a feeling that maybe it could be the same for you in like Twisted Wonderland, because they like, even though we can't feel how terrifying it is from behind the screen, but like every overblot is pretty much a near-death experience for both the person overblotting and also everyone involved for it. Like in the first chapter, like Riddle basically almost killed everyone in Heartstable.
Yeah.
And also Leona basically drained all the liquids out of Ruggy, almost.
Yeah, then Vil was straight up ready to kill everyone, and then maybe himself. Like,
wait, maybe himself? Like, I mean,
I've seen people argue about it, like, again, it's like one of those things, I don't remember the Japanese, so I don't remember if it was, like, strictly something in that, but, like, I don't know, there were some lines of EN where I was reading it, where I was like, oh yeah, I guess I can see why people were thinking that, but, I mean, I don't know, that is something, though, that I've seen a lot of people say, but either way, I mean, he was ready to commit murder. You know?
Yeah, he's just like, hey, if I kill everyone else, then, like, I'll be the prettiest. I mean, he's not wrong there, but, like, yeah. It's not exactly the best way. But then again, some of the English translation, even though it is pretty fun and it's got its own personality, it's taken out quite a bit of things, like the whole, like, I did mention before that I thought that you was a male, probably mediocre, like, Kazuma looking / like ReZero generic protagonist looking. He's probably the same age or slightly older than, like, the Twst cast. Yeah,
and then I'm of the mind that, like, I think probably, you know, I like thinking non-binary, and then there's also a lot of little lines that are kind of like, wait a minute, what do you mean? Like, can you elaborate on that a little bit when it comes to, like, official enrollment and stuff?
Yeah, because I think that you mentioned, like, in the draft discussion that
yeah.
in the,
it was
like,
that,
the first chapter, was it? Where, like, in the English version, we only heard Ace say, there wouldn't be any girls in a boys' school when he talked about Ippo's appearance.
Yeah, and then EN, it was like, girls can't officially enroll, and it's like,
JP.
could you elaborate on that for a moment? What do you mean, officially? And then also, there was a line that was, I don't remember if they just changed it completely or if they just cut it out for EN, but in JP, when you first meet Crowley, he's like, you know, kind of talking about you, and he's like, oh, well, they seem kind of feminine, and then they just totally did not have that at all in EN. Or they just very severely changed it. I don't quite remember. I mean, I also kind of mentioned it in our draft discussion. But,
yes.
I feel like, you know, even the whole discussion of, like, what gender is you is more of a, like, Western fan base thing. Because I don't think I've seen anyone in Japan get really, like, no, like, you know, he's a boy, no, she's a girl. Like, I don't think I've seen anyone, like, be like that. I feel like it's just been like, yeah, do whatever you want, guys. Dab, you know?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's something that I've been more aware of as I get older, but, guys and girls treat each other differently, generally. I mean, in an ideal world, like, we would just treat each other as is, but... it's often very, like, I like the whole no romance in the Twisted Wonderland, because then everyone just treats each other as a person. Like, that's kind of my main take on it, rather than love interest.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I would like that, but I don't think I would like it in the game exactly. I mean, I love the fan service lines, especially with Malleus, but also it's like, you know, I mean... Yu's just kind of there. They're probably not going to be... I mean, theoretically, they won't be there forever. You know, it's like...
I hope so. I mean, like, have you played Through the Wish Upon a Star, like, up to the current chapter?
Yeah, I've played current up to EN, and then I have, like, done the whole event in JP, so...
Oh. Yeah, have you gotten the Starry Robes Juice story?
I have it in JP. I don't have it in the end. I'm so mad.
No, yeah, because I got pretty lucky. I got it twice in like 80 rolls.
Send me one.
I would. And anyway, like, I've read the Vignette, and in the last scene, like, basically what happens is that Twst talks to Silver, talks to everyone about his dream of like his future career, and then he talks to the MC at the end, and he's like, "Hey, when I like get this job, make sure to be there to congratulate me." And then what the MC mutters to themselves is, "I'll probably be back in my own world by then." That was one of the options, but like that's. Yeah.
It's been a very long time since I've read that vignette in Japanese, so I totally don't remember, like, any of it.
Yeah.
Oh, but, yeah, I mean, and that would be really sad, you know, because it's like, as much as, you know, Twisted Wonderland is, you know, cool, it's, like, you's probably not going to stay there, and it would be kind of heartbreaking to get into a relationship, and then you have to choose between going home and then staying with, you know, your partner. But yeah, I do love you, and they are my child. They are my sassy child. My sassy lost child.
Yeah. But at the same time, we can't really tell how traumatized they really are.
Yeah, I think that is the one downside, because again, as I mentioned earlier, like, I'm used to being spoiled and having, you know, like, very, you know, like, oh yeah, like, it's supposed to be a self-insert, but, like, really it's their own character with other MCs for games. And I would just like to know, you know, how is the MC doing? Like, are they okay? Like, I would just like to know, you know? But I also feel like that might stray too much into, like, having too much personality disease. No.
I mean, you have to choose. Do you want a relatively background mediocre character that's a silent protagonist, or do you want someone who's out there and basically being like, I'm the best all the time?
And it's like, maybe there is a medium between the two. Like, maybe there is, but, you know, like, at the end of the day, it's not what we have, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess that breaks the question, though. If you could, like, you know, completely make you whatever you want and have it be canon, like, would you keep you the same, or would you add some stuff, or even take some stuff away, or?
I think I'm fine with how they are at the moment. Because I think a lot about things in my head. I'd like to see a bit more of their own sort background, a lot more. That's about it, but, like, I'm fine with how they are, If, like, say, during the Octavanel, like, that one was where you said that they were very proactive. I would have liked it if we went into their head and had their thought process and be like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna do this? And even if it's a bit dramatic and over panicking, like, but it's all in the head. Like, as long as that's, like, if that was shown a bit more, it would be pretty interesting. But then again, this is a game and it's not a novel, so I could totally understand why they haven't added it in.
Yeah, it's definitely that. And also, I'm pretty much in the same boat as you with, I would like to know their thoughts, and also maybe give them a couple more lines, you know? Well, that covers everything in my 4 bullet points.
Amazing! Woohoo!
We did it! We got through the recording. So my final thoughts: Yu's pretty cool. Stan Dreamcatcher. What are your final thoughts?
He is a regular person who is trying to get by and not stay traumatized in his quest to go home.
Yeah. Alright, so that wraps up our discussion for today. Thank you for coming and discussing with me, even though
Thank you.
It's crazy. We will see you guys later. If you would like more Twisted Wonderland, you know, roundtable discussions, let us know, and we will see you guys later. Bye!
Bye!